Welcome, friends. Welcome to our channel Bookish Audio Heaven. When I was a child, money only meant worry and tension in my world. My father, whom I call my per dad, was very educated and worked in a good office job. But he was always troubled by the lack of money. Every month, he would wait for his salary. But as soon as the money came, bills, EMIs, and daily expenses would take it all away. I often saw his tired face. When he came home from work, there was always exhaustion in his eyes. His smiling face and his real condition had a big difference, and this shocked me. Papa always used to say, "Son, study hard, get a good job. Then you won't have to worry about money." I was a child back then, sitting quietly on the chair, thinking, is just a degree really the guarantee of life? But when I saw that even after studying and working hard, the same problems remained, questions began to rise in my heart. When others can earn money, why can't we? So friends, today let's find the answer to this very question through a brilliant book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. In that same town, I had a best friend. His father, whom I call my rich dad, had started with a small grocery shop at a young age and slowly became very wealthy. He was a businessman by nature, always happy, always full of new business ideas. The atmosphere of his house was completely different. A big open veranda, warm sunlight streaming in, a hot cup of tea, and Rich Dad sitting nearby, explaining business lessons. Whenever I went to his house, his smiling face would give me so much peace. His face never showed unnecessary worry or tension. Even his wife always welcomed us warmly with snacks. Instead of money worries, there was always a shining hope on their faces. That home felt like another world. Compared to my own house's heavy and silent environment, his home sparkled with dreams and energy. Every conversation had something new to learn. The words of my fathers started circling in my head. One would say, "Don't take risks. A safe job is everything." The other would say, "Don't be afraid of risks. Don't work for money. Make money work for you." As a child, I was completely trapped between these two different mindsets. Two different roads, two different worlds. Honestly, I couldn't understand who was right and who was wrong. But then I thought, if I learn the best things from both, maybe I can create a better life for myself. And with that thought, listening to both carefully became my first big life lesson. Slowly, I realized that the difference between Rich Dad and Poor Dad's thinking was like the difference between earth and sky. Poor Dad always said, "Son, get a strong degree, then get into a government job or a big private company. Salary will come, and life will be secure." But hidden in his words, I could see fear. Like he was saying, "Don't take risks, just choose the safe path." Whenever I saw that fear on his face, my heart grew restless. Can a single degree really secure the whole life? I was just a child, but the questions inside me grew deeper. Even if I passed the toughest exam and top it, then what? Will all my dreams end right there? Just a job, just a salary, and every month waiting for payday? Many times, I even asked him directly, "Papa, is life only about job and salary? Is there nothing beyond this?" And his reply would always be simple and strict. "Yes, son. A degree opens the door to life. Leave the rest to me. Trust me." There was love in his words, but also a mindset trapped in fear and limitations. And from there, a new question began to echo in me. Is there another path? A path not filled with fear, but with hope and freedom? Rich Dad's thinking was completely different. He always said, "The rich don't work for money. Money works for them." When I first heard this from him, I was shocked. It felt like he had opened a new door in my world of thinking, a door I never saw before. He explained, money is not a burden or a fear. It's like a player, and we must learn to play with it wisely. He would smile and say, "Don't get trapped in the net created by money. Instead, create a path where money runs after you." His point was, if we limit ourselves to just a job and salary, we can never rise above our own limited thinking. He taught me that the real wisdom lies in how we think about money, how we use it, and whether we earn only to spend or invest it wisely to grow. There was a passion in his words, a light that slowly spread inside me. I listened to every word carefully and thought, can this really be possible? Those words went deep into my heart and mind. It felt like someone had given wings to my dreams. Things that earlier seemed impossible now started looking possible. One day, Rich Dad told me something very simple but very powerful. Until you change your thinking, no book in the world can make you rich. Hearing this shook me to my core. It wasn't just advice. For me, it became a life mantra. For the first time, I realized that real change doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. Rich Dad explained that what you study in school or college may help you get a good job. But to create real wealth, you must step into the field where your heart beats, where your passion lives. He said, if you're studying only to score marks, then you're just becoming a part of the system. But if you recognize your passion and start working on it, then you can step outside the system and create your own path. At that moment, a new light of understanding dawned on me. I understood that big financial challenges are what push us to think big. When life throws difficult questions, we are forced to look within, to step beyond our limits. And in that light, a new and bigger question stood before me. What is true wealth, and how can I achieve it? From then on, wealth no longer meant just money to me. It became time, freedom, self-satisfaction, and the art of continuously improving myself. These thoughts echoed in my mind like the sudden ringing of a temple bell. Every word, every example shook my way of thinking. That evening, Rich Dad calmly explained to me, the real path to earning money lies hidden in your thinking. And the first step on that path is to understand assets. Then he asked me, son, do you consider your house an asset? I hesitated, glanced at my house, and said, yes, of course. It's ours. It gives comfort, it gives peace. He smiled and said, yes, it surely gives comfort. But if the loan, maintenance, electricity, and taxes of that house are all taking money out of your pocket, then it is not an asset, it's a liability. Then he shared with me a simple rule that completely changed my way of thinking. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. After that, he gave me two examples that are still etched in my memory. First, a man bought an expensive car with his salary. At first, he was very happy. Everyone praised him. But within weeks, the EMI, petrol, and servicing costs became such a burden that the car started eating away his budget. That joy slowly turned into a burden. Rich Dad said, see, that car is no longer an asset, it's a liability. Then he gave the second example. Another man used a small amount of savings to open a small shop. He worked hard himself, and slowly, the shop started bringing him income every month. Even though it was little in the beginning, money was flowing into his pocket. Rich Dad said, this is a real asset. Then he asked me, do you understand, son? An asset is something that makes you a little richer every day. A liability is something that makes you a little poorer every day. His words sunk deep into my heart. For the first time, I realized how many people mistakenly consider their expensive possessions as assets. Big cars, big houses, branded items. They look glamorous, but slowly they empty our pockets. That night, when I went to sleep, I even dreamed about it. On one side was the car drowning in EMI and petrol costs. On the other side was the small shop, steadily increasing income. The next morning, I made a promise to myself. Before buying anything, I will always ask, will this put money into my pocket, or will it take money out? From that day, one line kept echoing in my mind. Buy assets, not liabilities. This was the greatest lesson of Rich Dad. Change your thinking. Only then will the door to true wealth open. But despite this, one big gap was felt every single day. nobody was teaching us about money. In school, we were taught everything: geography, history, mathematics, science. But how to earn money, how to manage it, how to grow it, no one ever taught us that. The books were filled with knowledge about the world, but nothing about the world inside our own pocket. Poor Dad, my own father, always said, "Son, get a good degree. Everything else will automatically be fine." For him, education meant a job, and a job meant security. But Rich Dad taught differently. He said, "The real lesson begins after school. The real test of life doesn't come from books. It comes from the ground." One day he told me, "Look, son, school teaches you what? When you only study to fit into the system, you become just another employee," Rich Dad said. "But if you truly want to become rich, you must study money on your own." I asked him, "What do you mean by studying money?" He smiled and replied, "Studying money means understanding how money works, how you can make it work for you, how to invest it, how to save on taxes, how to build businesses, and most importantly, how to change your mindset so that money chases you instead of you chasing money." Then he said something even deeper, which still echoes in my heart. "What you study for exams will give you a job, but what you study for real life will give you wealth." He told me, "You'll only be able to step into the vineyard when you have the courage to grow something yourself, not just the mindset of selling, but of creating." That's when a new awareness began inside me. I was no longer reading only school textbooks, but also learning the language of money, the moves of money, and the world of money itself. One line of Rich Dad completely transformed me. Yes, school education is important, but financial education is even more important. Because millions of people may have degrees, but only a few have financial understanding, and those few are the ones the world calls truly rich. One day, Rich Dad called me to his office. I was a bit nervous but excited too, because I felt I was about to learn something new. When I reached his office, the atmosphere was nothing like school. On the walls, instead of motivational quotes, there were income statements, balance sheets, and tax documents. On the desk, instead of thick textbooks, there were files, and in each file, a business was breathing. Then he brought out my very first desk book, just a simple notebook. But for me, it felt like the key to a treasure. He calmly said, "In this, we will write everything. How much you earned, how much you spent. If you ever want to open your own business, the first skill you need is this: to track every single penny." In that moment, I realized that for the first time, I was studying real business and finance, not just school grades. Then he said, "Let's start with a small exercise." Together we bought some candies and set up a table to sell them. On the first day, we faced a loss. The candies didn't sell. On the second day, we tried something new. We changed the packaging, lowered the price a little, and this time made a small profit. Every day, we sat down and recorded all this in the desk book. How many candies were sold, how many remained, how much money came in, and where it was spent. Rich Dad smiled and said, "Big businessmen do the same thing. They track every penny and then decide their next move." He explained that this is financial literacy, understanding your money habits, keeping an eye on income and expenses, and slowly improving those habits. He said, "Write it down, on paper or on a computer. But remember, money will never stay with you until you understand its game." After that day, my perspective completely changed. Counting money was no longer a headache for me. It became my biggest responsibility. Now I understood that without accounting, a person only earns. But the one who understands his earnings, he is the one who becomes rich. Rich Dad's words always echoed in my mind. Money can be your servant, but if you don't learn how to manage it, it will become your master. That evening, as I sat alone in the cool breeze of the fields, staring at the stars, a sense of peace washed over me. I could now clearly see that real education is not just in books. It is hidden in life's experiences. In school, we are told, get good marks, get a job, and life will be secure. But Rich Dad taught me, without financial understanding, no degree can keep you safe. Every day, as I managed accounts for my little shop, noting down expenses and income, I realized this was the real school. Here, mistakes didn't cost marks, they cost money. And that's where true learning began. The taste of my first earning was sweet, but the responsibility that followed taught me that earning money is easy, managing it is an art. One line of Rich Dad kept ringing in my ears again and again. Kill the fear in your thinking. Once you learn to manage money, your entire life will change. Hidden in Rich Dad's advice was not just guidance, but also a warning. If we keep living in fear, money will never come toward us. That day I realized that fear is only an emotion, and it can be defeated with knowledge. And true knowledge doesn't come only from books. It comes from life itself. Just like the day when I earned my own money for the very first time. From then on, money was no longer something scary for me. It became a friend, one I was learning to understand and walk alongside. That night, I made a promise to myself. No matter what, I would never again ignore my financial education. Because if I wanted to make my dreams come true, I needed not just education, but also financial understanding and faith in myself. Even after learning so much, a new worry took hold of my heart. Fear. Rich Dad always said, rich people don't ignore fear. They learn from it and then move forward. I experienced the truth of this for the first time when we decided to invest a small part of our savings in the stock market. My heart was beating fast. My family kept warning me, son, money should only be kept in safe places. Otherwise, you might lose it. But Rich Dad said, those who step back because of fear never see great success. If you always hide inside the house, how will you ever see the light outside? Those words gave me courage. I began taking small steps. Once, we introduced a new item in our shop. Another time, we expanded the business slightly. Every day brought a new challenge. And every time I dared to try something new, I saw fear slowly moving further away. At first, the new product took a day to sell. But the next time, we made a profit. That profit felt like a ray of light breaking through the darkness. With every small success, my confidence grew, and fear diminished. I began to understand that fear is a natural feeling that tries to stop us from learning new things. But once we learn to control it, no obstacle can stand in our way. Fear doesn't block us. It gives us an opportunity to become stronger. All that's needed is to take one step forward. Finally, after a few months, when our small business began showing results, I experienced true confidence for the first time. Rich Dad's words came true. When a person works hard and thinks carefully about every penny, fear naturally disappears. I clearly saw that as long as we cling only to a house, a car, and a secure job, the doors to real wealth and growth remain shut. That day, I felt deeply that if we put all our energy only into safety, then the roads to hope will slowly close. Security is important, but if we keep running from risk out of fear, we will never reach the heights of our dreams. A thought echoed in me. The one who is afraid of change can never create something new. My perspective deepened further when Rich Dad explained the difference between an employee and an investor. Poor Dad used to say, son, getting a job is a big achievement. That's where all the security lies. He taught me that with a good job, we can run our lives. But Rich Dad said, a job is only a tool. The income from a job is like a deep river with only one path. And when that river dries up, all the light disappears. If you think only in terms of a job, you'll always remain tied to the clock. The rich don't just work jobs, they run businesses, he said. That statement raised a new question in my mind. Is a job really the ultimate goal of life? Or should we learn how to put money to work so that it works for us instead of us working for it? This shifted my mindset. I saw that Rich Dad was right. My poor dad always stayed busy in his bank job, but he was never truly free from financial stress. Then Rich Dad said, we must definitely learn from our jobs, but with that same energy, we must also build our own businesses. He gave me an example. Every month, invest a portion of your salary into assets. Then watch how your earnings multiply through your own efforts. So I invested a small portion of my savings into a little business. Soon, I saw a steady profit every month. When money began to grow in my bank account, not just from my salary, but also from my investments, I felt proud of myself. I was no longer just a hard worker. I had begun thinking like a small investor do. Yes, Rich Dad's mantra was truly life-changing. Adopt it. What Rich Dad explained was that in a job, we sell our hard work. But when we build assets, then money starts working for us. That truth touches the heart. Like you said, by investing in small rental properties or shares, passive income gradually started coming in. That's what financial freedom really means. Rich Dad's lesson was simple. Money creates more money. If we invest wisely in the right assets, life takes on a whole new dimension. Your experience shows that along with hard work, the right mindset and investments are equally important. And that's the real difference between rich thinking and ordinary thinking. Are you still searching for new paths to invest in? Or are you focusing more on a particular asset? When I used to talk about hard work and investments among family and friends, their faces showed surprise. My poor dad used to say, "Son, don't think too big. Becoming rich isn't easy. Security is the greatest wealth." One of my friends, Arun, used to mock me in the beginning. He would say, "Son, don't break your job glasses running after business illusions." But when I stayed focused on my work and investments, slowly they began to understand my thinking. Arun once taunted me, saying I couldn't even lift a pretty pebble from a donkey's back. But 2 years later, when I sold a property and made a good profit, he went silent. He realized I was serious about my vision. I started adopting a new habit every day. Whenever I received my monthly income, I divided it into parts, some for household expenses, some for savings, and the rest for investments. Maybe my sister was part of this mindset too. Whenever we went to the market to buy something expensive, like a fancy fruit or a new TV, I always thought, is this really necessary? I simplified my life. I tied my happiness only to the things that were truly needed. For example, every month I bought a small book from my salary, something that gave me financial knowledge. These books were often about a CEO's story or an investor's journey, and every book gave me a fresh perspective. These small habits were changing my world. The mindset of a modest salary is enough began shrinking, and bigger goals started coming into view. When I slowly began seeing good results, even my poor dad was shocked. He realized that without any guru, just by trusting my own thinking, I had already come a long way. Rich Dad always said, "Trust yourself." Because when you dare to take a step forward, others will be left swallowing their tears. When he saw that I had built a small business with my first earnings, his face lit up with pride. From a childhood full of mockery, I had carved my way toward a new destination through hard work. You may be wondering why listening to all this. This sounds like a story. But how do I start? I used to think the same way. But then I understood, when dreams are big, you must take small steps. The easiest way is this. Every month, set aside a portion of your income and invest it. Start small, maybe with mutual funds, stocks, or a tiny business. If instead of just saving money in the bank, you invest in ways that stay ahead of inflation, you will definitely see the difference. I started by making a monthly budget, just like we used to do homework in school. I tracked my expenses and savings. Then, whatever remained, I invested in good assets. I kept some money aside for emergencies, and the rest I put into my small business and stocks. These steps became so natural that money worries started to fade away. Now I use money to fulfill my dreams. You too can start small. If you are a student, save a portion of your pocket money, or earn some extra by doing a part-time job or tutoring, and invest that. One more thing to remember, every small habit of how you earn and spend money makes a big difference. And the most important thing, keep your mind open. Read books about money. Watch YouTube videos. Listen to experts' tips. If you really want to stay connected to your dreams, make financial education part of your daily learning. I myself read books in Hindi and watch YouTube courses. When I combine book knowledge with my own hard work, I realized that even an ordinary person like me could strike big deals. One thing to remember, whenever you see new opportunities, fear will come first. But make fear your friend. Rich Dad always said, think big, then take small steps. Success will be yours. And when you start taking those small steps, you'll see how new hope and new strength arise within you. Fear is left behind, and only confidence remains. After all these lessons, I often ask myself a big question: what have I become? I am the same person who, as a child, was torn between two different kinds of advice. But now I have moved far ahead of that person who was trapped in just a degree and a 9-to-5 job. I not only discovered a financial path for myself, but also guided my family onto it. In our small family, we decided together that we would not just collect expenses, but assets too. Today, when we sit together, our biggest concern about money is no longer the same fear that haunted my poor dad. The security my poor dad promised with a degree. Today we've gone beyond that security and are looking at new opportunities. I change a lot in my life, from my thinking to my way of living. Every evening, when I look into the mirror, I recognize that foolish child who was once troubled, and I also see the grown person who now has the courage to make decisions. You too can connect my story with your own heart. Do you want to live your life only for a job? Or do you want to think differently and create your own path? Do you want to live under the shadow of fear? Or do you want to adopt new thinking with courage? Every person has a passion within them. It just needs to be awakened. I worked hard, made mistakes, started again, and learned the greatest lesson of all: never give up. If I, an ordinary man, could learn all this and take steps forward, then you can too. Think about it. When I held that book in my hands for the first time, I had no idea I could change this much. Today I want to tell everyone, if you have the right mindset and work hard, your dreams can come true as well. In the end, this new life story is not just about a book. It has become my story, and now, it can become your story too. Rich Dad's thinking, which I couldn't fully understand earlier, has now become the passion of my heart. I have seen with my own eyes that with self-belief and hope, any financial battle can be won. If we can recognize our fears, let them go, and still move forward with enthusiasm, then ahead of us lies nothing but light. Today, I just want to tell you this. As long as you stay trapped in loans, debts, and rent, dreams will remain just dreams. But take one step forward. Start building assets. Combine your education with financial understanding, and see how life transforms. Behind every destination lies a small beginning. From this story, you will understand that mindset is the greatest wealth. Assets are what truly turn dreams into reality. Keep learning. Make fear your friend, and think beyond your job. From today, it's time to write your own financial future. You already hold the power, a pen and your thoughts. If I, just an ordinary boy who studied only in Hindi, could come this far, then you can go even further on your own strength. Ask yourself, who do you want to see yourself as tomorrow? A weak employee or a fearless investor? That's your decision. I am ready now. Are you ready too? Because from now on, every small earning of yours can become the stepping stone to your future. Rich Dad once said, dream big. So I say, the time has come to turn those dreams into reality. If you like this video, do give it a like. Share it with your friends so they too can make their dreams come true. And for more such inspiring book reviews, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We are with you in your journey of hard work and dreams taking flight. So let's move forward and change our lives.